ladies and gentlemen, the Yes Men.
We were inspired by thousands and thousands and thousands of other people, who were around the world protesting the inhumane policies of the World Trade Organization, which basically allowed, and continues to allow, unfortunately, allows corporations to do what they want without interference from government. They basically exist to prevent governments from interfering with corporate behaviors. 30,000 people were marching to Seattle to protest this and to shut down the WTO. And everybody knew this was going to happen, November 1999. We couldn't go, but what we did know how to do was make fake websites. And it was just for fun. It was just kind of like a lark. We had gotten started working together a couple years before, and we'd set up a couple of fake websites just sort of commenting on different things. We set up one for Shell, one for McDonald's. But they were kind of just commentaries and satires, and we didn't really think more about it. And when this was happening, we thought, well, that's one thing we know how to do, so why not just set one up for, the World Trade Organization. So we made this fake World Trade Organization website, looked just the same as the real one, except ours was readable. And you could see things on the front of it that made fun of the World Trade Organization in really blatant terms that everybody could get. And we hoped that people would kind of stumble on the site and think it was real for a moment and then get what we were talking about. But instead, a lot of people got upset, including, especially the World Trade Organization. They actually wrote a press release on their website, on their real website, calling ours deplorable and saying that we undermined their transparency, which was really funny, because ours was transparent. And they were so disappointed that nobody read their finely crafted press release that they emailed us, and their head of PR emailed us and said, look what you awful people have made us do. You've made us write this press release about you. Don't you feel terrible? And we felt so terrible that we sent their press release to thousands of our best friends with lavish excuses to the World Trade Organization. Journalists wrote articles about the funny website situation and the funny WTO attacking us. Now, because of that, this was 1999, so there were search engines just like today. I think Alta Vista, Hotbot, various search engines. These articles would link to our fake website with the words World Trade Organization on the link. You can see a couple of them there. And so those search engines would pick up our website, and when you would search on World Trade Organization on these search engines, you'd sometimes stumble on our fake site instead of the real one. And that's what happened. That's what happened a number of times. Like, we started getting a flood of email for the real World Trade Organization to our website. And most of them were just about little details of trade, how to do this, how to avoid this tariff or whatever. And we would answer as best we could. Which was usually a lot better than the real World Trade Organization could have answered. But we figured out that the way to answer any question posed was just to remember the main principle of this, which is that the main principle of the WTO and of that whole philosophy that lets corporations do whatever they want, it's basically you let them do whatever they want, you let the rich do whatever they want, and it's good for everyone. So with that in mind, we would answer these emails. And then one day we got a very strange email that we didn't know how to answer. It was an invitation to the head of the World Trade Organization to come speak at a conference in Salzburg, Austria. And that was a law conference. Yeah. What did we do?
At first we didn't know what to do because we thought, well, we can't send the Director General of the WTO. But then we realized that we could just write to them and tell them that. We can't send the Director General of the WTO, is what we wrote, but then we followed it by, but we would very gladly send a substitute, which surprisingly enough, they accepted. And so that's how we ended up starting to go and represent the WTO. In physical space, we would go to these meetings and we would attend and we would come up with a presentation that we thought would really raise some eyebrows, would rile people up. The very first time we did it, we actually thought that we were only doing it to get kicked out. And we brought a camera to witness it because we thought that it would be a bit like when you throw the pie in the face of somebody. You know, Bill Gates has had the pie thrown in his face, Milton Friedman, all kinds of people, Stephen Harper. Maybe not yet. But, you know, they get the pie, and we imagined this would be a different kind of weird version of the pie in the face. We would say our thing, like at this law conference in Salzburg, where we announced that we were going to outlaw the siesta in Spain and Italy because it got in the way of work. And strangely, it made sense to people in the room because we used words like harmonization of business practices, which was a big debate in Europe. And they were like, yes, harmonization. Of course you can't have a siesta during the day in Southern Europe if people are working during the lunch hour in Northern Europe. That's impossible. So there were things like that we thought were pushing it far, but we pushed it really far with this thing that was called voteauction.com, which was the final proposal of our talk, which was to simply sell votes to the highest bidder in democracies, because it was much more efficient than the current process we have, which is all about lobbying and influencing and spending vast amount of money buying votes indirectly. So this was cutting out the middleman. A free market solution to democracy. We thought that when we announced that, along with some really crude and strange jokes in the middle of our speech, that we would just get the boot, and then we'd have a video of us getting kicked out, and we'd post it and send out a link to our friends. But something really surprising happened.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing at all. We were asked. We gave our spiel saying we should basically privatize democracy, remove it. Another word for removing it. And afterwards, we just got the first question we got was, so what are you doing about those pesky protesters? And then we went to lunch with them afterwards and Mike set the camera on the table, and we had this lovely conversation about how Hitler's policies were not actually that bad, his economic policies. And on. You know, there seemed to be no way to get a reaction from them. We went to some extremes. We had me pied, and our camera person went back in as a reporter after we shaved off his beard so he looked like somebody else, and asked people if there was anything wrong with the talk. No. And then we emailed everybody, and we had all their emails, so we emailed them and said, you know, was there anything wrong? The guy who spoke from the WTO was pied, and he's very sick. And there seemed to be a bacillus in the pie or something, some infectious agent. And so it's a crime. Anything. And then we were at our wits' end, so we sent another email saying he had died. And please, this is a big crime now. And then people came forth and told us that, no, he had simply talked about making markets more efficient.
We told the organizers that we had a very important announcement to make. They'd invite us to a conference, but we said that we really had to do something completely different because there was really big news in the WTO, and we made the announcement that the WTO was shutting down. And it was reopening as a trade regulation organization. And instead of its stated goal of helping businesses do business, which, go ahead and look at the website, that's its charter. Instead of helping businesses do business, we were going to put business in the service of humanity and the environment. And that meant serving the people who had the least, serving the people who were most victimized, trying to put the market in the service of the environment, and that's why it was called the Trade Regulation Organization. Now, the amazing thing that happened there is that the people in the room who were high-level accountants embraced the idea, and this time they applauded enthusiastically, and they didn't stop there. They came up to us, they thanked us, and they had a look of relief on their face, like finally they were free to do what they thought was right. And at the luncheon afterward, they organized into groups, into working groups, to figure out how to do it, because they said, how are you going to do it? And we said, we don't know. This is a new announcement. We don't know. We just know the old thing wasn't working. And they said, great, we know how to do it. And we're going to start on it right now. And at the luncheon, they drew up some plans. And so it was liberating because we realized, okay, this is not just an issue of the powerful and the powerless. It's an issue of a lot of people who are working day-to-day jobs, who want to do the right thing, who can see the difference between right and wrong very clearly, who are working in a system that has basically taken them down a path that they reluctantly are agreeing with. And so that was very interesting.